Today, we will learn how to build a beautiful decision matrix. So the way it works is we specify our two criteria here, for instance, urgent and important, and that automatically puts the task in a corresponding column. So we will build a matrix that will tell the system in which column we will put that task. So this matrix is dynamic, which means that we can use it using the standard parameters, which is known as the Eisenhower Matrix, or we can build our own by creating specific criteria. So when the task is completed, we tick the done section, and that will put the task in the completed column. This will allow us to keep a history of tasks without cluttering our primary columns. So we can input literally thousands of tasks. So I will show you how to build it for Excel 365 with tick boxes, but I will also show you how to build it for older versions of Excel with drop-down menus instead of tick boxes. I will show you how to build formulas to make this happen, the trick I used to build those columns. But as I wanted this tutorial to be short, I will not go through the building of the chart and all the formatting, which you can learn how to build in many of my other step-by-step tutorials. Okay, let's get straight into it, as they say on YouTube. Start the demo. I'm not going to build it from scratch. I'm just going to show you what I've done. So you should be able to reproduce it from what I tell you. So I made it a bit more difficult for myself. I just wanted to have it compatible with both version, the old quote-unquote version, which means the non-Excel 365 version, and the more modern version. And here, for instance, I just put checkboxes. So I wanted to, if you have Excel 365, you will have checkboxes. And if you have older version, you just have yes, no. So this is the equivalent. Here, text boxes. This is how you do it. Okay, so the first thing to do, let's start from scratch on how I build this. I have also created a settings tab where I input the criteria. An Eisenhower matrix by default works this way. So you have, for instance, here I put, this is a leftover, so urgent and important. Urgent and important is to do it today, and urgent and not important is do tomorrow, and the like. So there's actually do tomorrow. The way Eisenhower has it is delegate. So not delegate. So this is what I wanted to give you the possibility to change. For instance, if you don't want urgent, you can replace that, and that would change all the criteria alongside. And here you can decide a different action as well based on the criteria. So this is I wanted to provide this flexibility. So if we come back here in matrix, those four criteria will be here. Do it today, delegate, schedule, and delete. Just put them on top, and I refer obviously to the one in the settings in that order, and then I have a completed one here. So it works a little bit like a Kanban board in a way that based on when you input here, the data will find its way in one of those columns. Okay, so here this is a very basic table where you have the task name, urgent, important. So this is also brought back from here. So here, if I put something different here, that should come back here if it all works. And that's it. So I'm just going to put back to urgent. And this is a yes, no for the old version. So if you don't know how to do this, you just go to data, and then data validation. And here you can either use a table or you just do it manually. When it's Y, comma n, because there's only two criteria, might as well do it all in one. And that's it. So urgent and important, you would have the two here. Here I would retrieve the action to take based on those two criteria. I will have to go to this table and retrieve the action, but I'll show you how I do this. And then there is a done. Okay, so it's the same thing for here. Oops. What I should have really here, that can be if you have on Excel 365. I'm very lazy, I could have done two demos, but if you're on Excel 365, you just tick there. So as I am actually setting those templates, I just wanted to have one version for old and a new version of Excel. So the way I've done it is I'm just telling you all my secrets here. So you go under you create a third tab where you will be doing all your calculations here. And I'm just going to show you how I've done it compatible for both versions. So here I'm just creating additional columns that will be a replication of what I could put here, for instance. But instead I replicate the whole table here. So this is what I'll be referring here to the first element of the table on the matrix. And here I will be referring to the second element here, to the important. So I'll show you how I've done it. So first I check if it's a Y or a true. Just in case you're not aware of how tick box work, there is a value behind this. Like for instance, if I refer back to that value here, it's either false or true when I tick. Interestingly enough, there is also 0 or 1, but only when you use it in calculation. So if you're using Excel 365, and you can be bothered doing this for all versions, then it will be simpler for you. You would just put the direct value here. But here I just check if it's a Y, so that would apply for the all versions. And if it's a true, that would apply for Excel 365. And I'm just creating 10, 10, 10 here based on all this. So this is the urgent, important, and the done, I'm doing the same thing. And what I'm doing now, I'm creating a bit of doing some calculations where I actually use a weighing criteria to allow me to, I should say maybe to prevent me from having to do all the if urgent and if important, then do this. What I'm doing is I'm creating numbers for each action taken. So the way I'm doing this is I'm applying a weight. So here I'm just the first urgent, I'm doing a weighing of 10. So I multiply the urgent by 10, and then I add the important. So that will give me all those numbers here. Because if I didn't put this weighing, you would have 1 and 0 and 0 and 1, and that will be the same total. So I'm just giving a highest weight for this. That's just a little trick that I use to prevent me from doing all the if and if and if. Now, once again, for Excel 365 or even I think Excel 2021, they have easier way to do ifs and switch and all that stuff. So, but I want it to be compatible with all versions, just to be democratic in that way. Okay, so that's the way I come up with these numbers here. So this way it's easy. I just have to do a lookup on those numbers and I can retrieve the description. So this is including the completed. So even if they are completed, I'm just doing this calculation. This other column here, I just check if they are completed. If they are completed, first of all, I check the task is not blank, that there is something in it. And if the task is completed, which is in this using this conversion table here, if the done is 1, then I will put the number 50. So those two columns are equal. The only difference is when the task is completed, here I would have 50. So, and by the way, replicating, not exactly replicating, but adding other columns that you hide, not to confuse anyone here, because here I could have put all those columns and hiding them and the likes. It is an excellent trick that I'm using all the time. It's the downside of Excel. You cannot work with files without using Visual Basic, but here you are more or less recreating a file. So, and it's visual, you can see it, that's the advantage. So here it's the same, the difference is when it's completed it's 50. I will need this because I want to put that in my charts. I will need to want to give a, just so that now, I want to give a total for completed, how many had this criteria. If I didn't have that column, I wouldn't be able to do it. And here, this is when I do the translation. So XLOOKUP. Now I'll give you a link in the video if you're not familiar with some of those functions. I have I think 5 or 10 minutes where I go through all the key Excel functions and it goes quite quickly. But the advantage is you see them all, and then you can go back to the these chapters. You can go back to the one where you want to learn more. So have a look at the item description if interested. Translation here. So you're doing an X lookup. So first thing that I check is that I'm only doing this for the one that are not completed, which is N13 0. So N13 is 0. What I do is I do an X lookup, assuming that you know how it works, easy. But what you do here, I'm checking for this number here in that table here. So let me just click on it. I'm looking for that number here in that table, and when I find it, I just retrieve the E here. Okay. So this is all done, and when it's not 0, it's 1. Thank you, Ben. When it's not 0, when it's not 0, it's 1. Then I put completed here. Retrieval key. So this is once again, I said that before, to allow me to have this run for old versions of Excel. If I didn't have, if I could do it with 365, I might have opted for different criteria for a sort, for a filter, or something like this. And actually, I have two Kanban boards demo, if you want, where we start things from scratch this time. And one is for the most recent version of Excel, and I'm using the filter. And for the older version of Excel, I'm using this trick here. So here, I think this is the only part where we need to concentrate. Until now, it's been very straightforward, but this, I think this is a good trick that you will find useful if you have an old version of Excel. What I'm doing is I am actually adding a number, a sequence number, to any one of those action, which I call translation here. One of these action based on the matrix. So if this is the first delegate, I want to have delegate 1. If it's the second delegate, I want to have delegate 2. And guess what? For the third one, delegate 3. And this will be used when I want to retrieve things back from the matrix. Okay, so let's go back to this. How do I do this? And so this is where first I check if the task is not blank. I don't want the task to be blank, otherwise that's going to bring in rubbish. And after, how do I know this is the first of the delegate? What I'm doing is I'm checking the task is not blank. I've already done that. So I'm using the queue here. So I'm appending the number of times where I found delegate up until now. So here it doesn't really, it's not very visual, but what I've done is I've locked the first P13, and as I go down, I'm looking at back to more and more criteria. So now when I go down the list, I'm just counting how many completed. So I'm just counting how many 50 I have up until now. And this is why it's important to lock the first P13, the first one here, and then as you go down, you will be counting more and more, and therefore you'll be able to see how many you have. So this is it for that. Now let's have a look at the matrix. How do I do it to retrieve that now? So what I am doing now is I am retrieving the delegate 1 for this. Sorry, the do it today. Actually, let's go delegate. It might be more obvious. Delegate 1. Delegate 2 will go there, delegate 3, delegate 4 will be there. So, and here they are, the calculation. Delegate 1, delegate 2, now that I've built them, delegate 3. Now delegate 1, delegate 2, delegate 3. So this is what I do. So what I do is I'm building the quote unquote, the key of the XLOOKUP will be delegate and 1, because this will be the first one. And I'm looking for delegate 1. Okay, sorry, delegate 1 into the code. So the code, I've created a formula here. Code, which is all the S colon here for the code. All the code that I've created. Colon. So I'm looking for delegate 1 into this. I'm looking for delegate 2 on the second line, and then I can retrieve the task. I go back here and then I retrieve the task. So this is the trick that is great if you really have an old version of Excel. But even if you don't want to use the filter analyze, because the filter has some downsides, you need to retrieve the full table, so the full array, I should say. Okay, so this is how it works more or less. So you have, and you do this, you make sure that here you have the exact, you refer to the exact number that you had, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so now you have your 4 columns, and for completed it's the same. I'm looking for completed 1 to put it here, completed 2 to put it here, completed 3 here, 4 here. So this is it. So this is the advantages. Now I can use either tick boxes or I can use this, and now you can see how it works. Obviously, I mean, let's say Spanish lessons, it's in a delete because it's not important and not urgent. Why bother? But if I tick this one here, it turns into a delegate, and it goes back here, and you see that it doesn't go to the bottom, because now in my list here it counts again and you realize it's the second one. So this is a pretty smart Excel function there, a good replacement, I think. And then okay, so if you go back here now, if you put it click the important, you put a schedule here, and what's the task? Spanish lessons, go there. And then if you do it today, Spanish lessons is here. No, that's really, this is here. I just thought so. I just saw at some stage I'm going to look a bit silly, but this is this one. Okay, so this is the one. Just to confirm, that's it. Phew. And that's it. So now you have all this built. Here you can also retrieve calc. You retrieve the thing here if you want to really stress it, if you don't want to put it here. Here you must have some basic, so I'm not going to go into the coloring, but there is some, all that's done by conditional formatting. Conditional formatting. If you want to use reproduce the same color, I think I'm using a different theme. Which theme? Paper. Pastel is in fashion, so the subtle colors are back. So this is why I think people usually respond more to a bit off colors. So this is it. So now you have this, you have all that, you have your calc, you have all this, and you're left with doing some charts. So some charts is very simple. I mean, this is what I want to go to the essential. We are all busy, but to do some chart you need to have some calculation. So here you calculate all the delete or everyone, all the items that have this code here. You have the completed, and this is why we have those 2 columns here. One include the completed and one doesn't include the completed. So it's all a matter of matrix search. So you just search everything based on the matrix here. Here I have some totals at the top. Here what do the totals that I retrieve from here directly. Here I have the ones that I mentioned here, all the breakdown. These 2 are similar, but they are just a different chart type. Here this is a completed, so this is where you have to go down to the completed one. And the completed vs active, I think I like this one because you have the active one broken down, and you also have the delegated here. All that is a big fat amount of cells merged, so they all merge. I'm using the Bernard empty condense if you really want to go to that level of detail. Here this is the date, so today's date. If you don't know the formula, it's this one. And the way I formatted, I went all in. As I say often, we all have different criteria, month, day, month, whatever. So this is why I'm just not going to cut down any protest. I put everything here. So to have the full date Monday, it's 4 days. See, if you don't know this, it's quite good. If I put only 3 days, it's MON. Even if I put 2 days, that's going to be the number. but I put 4 days. And the same for month. If you put the 4M, you have the word works. If I put only 3, you just have the 3 here. And why not? I'm putting the year as well, just to be sure there's no misunderstanding. Because yes, you go all in, and this is why I wanted to have it completed in a different column, because I've seen some decision matrix where they keep the to it today that is completed, it's ticked here, but it doesn't mean much when you look at a few weeks back. So obviously I prefer to have all the completed in there, so they will be piling up nicely here. And here you have a fresh, I mean, this is my preference, you have a fresh look of, you know, and you can, the advantage is you can still use this for weeks, months, or whatever, and then you would only have a fresh look here, and then you can go back to your completed stats here. Now we go reaching the end, objective here, same. If you want to put objectives, it's always a good idea. Maybe I put that a bit bigger. Yeah, why so small? Put the objective, whatever. So that's just a simple task that you can input here. Have I forgotten anything? No, so that's just something that I've done just so that you know which color. Just retrieving things from here. And that's pretty much it. This was not used. I was considering doing the sum of all the urgent, all the important, all the active and completed. So they are there, but they are split instead. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so was I too fast or was I too slow? How long? 12 minutes? Oh, actually 12 minutes plus, because I did that in several cuts. Anyway, so I just hope that that was useful. I think that at some stage I was going here and then, but I think if you just focus on the part of the video that is of interest, which I believe it's around this calculation here, how this is just a trick that I've done. You might prefer to do the if then ad vitam aeternam. And this you might not want to use this trick here because you might have a more recent version of Excel, and then in the matrix here you just retrieve only what is in this category. Okay, so I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, please put them in comments. And if you want to get more of those, I do demos from scratch. From time to time, but sometimes I'm a bit daunted by the idea of just doing it all over again, and it's pure laziness. Yes, I agree, but hopefully I can help, and this is what I'm saying. If you have any questions in comments, I usually answer all the comments as long as they are being asked with a minimal of decency, I suppose. Okay, thank you for watching this.